Good morning. Happy Sunday. Last week I took you into my vanity to show you a little bit about where I live and to show you how I apply my makeup in the morning using a proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, the PNF approach. Today I'm going to bring you into my kitchen to talk a little bit about joint ranges of motion and why I think it's important for you to know them, not just for the MBCOT exam, but to be an entry-level practitioner, an occupational therapist, and just to live independently and fully in your day-to-day life. Now, I have a video on this already, and for whatever reason, it remains the most unpopular video. Because no one wants to learn this, no one wants to hear me regurgitate numbers, but I think it's important, as evidenced by a lot of questions reaching, or a lot of students reaching out to me with questions like, how much do we need to know, what's the extent to, how we should study for this, and my answer is this. I can't talk specifically about the exam, but I can tell you that being able to identify limitations in range of motion is what will allow us to select the appropriate and safe assessments as well as guide our intervention planning. So do I think it's important to know? Absolutely. So I want to just go over not all of them, but some of the major ones that we use every day. So I use my ranges of motion all the time, every morning when I'm about to make my eggs, because my cabinet, as you can see, is pretty high up and I have to reach up using shoulder flexion to reach those items. Now, our ranges of motion, and it varies the numbers from textbook to textbook. I'm referencing the Pedretti's occupational therapy textbook, is 0 to 170. Now, when you're not compensating, some of us might be like, I do yoga, I'm really flexible and compensate, but on average, it's about 0 to 170. Shoulder abduction is an easy one too, because it's also 170. So when you're going out this way, 0 to 170. Instead of trying to memorize these specific numbers, I want you to go through these ranges of motion with me right now and try to get a muscle memory or visualize what that motion and movement and range looks like in your head as a way to remember what those ranges of motion are. What's another one that we use quite often is elbow flexion. That's 0 to 135 to 150. When you're lifting something up, for example, where's my Stella? Say hi to Stella. In order for me to be able to hold her and cuddle with her all the time, you notice I'm using elbow flexion. I have to rely on my range of motion to be able to cuddle with Stella. Limitation in my elbow flexion range of motion would severely decrease the quality of my life. Okay, so what is important to the patient? What is important value for the client? And how is their limitation and range of motion affecting their engagement in something that they love? Are the kind of questions that we need to be asking ourselves when we're approaching the MBCOT questions. All right. I think another motion that we use quite often, especially in the kitchen for cooking, might be forearm supination, forearm pronation, and those ranges of motion. So these are just some examples that I wanted to share with you today to illustrate the importance of having the foundational knowledge for the average joint ranges of motion. If you haven't watched that video, please go ahead and review it. And throughout your day on Sunday, when you are doing your favorite recipe in the kitchen, or whether you are reaching over or engaging in some sports, think about your range of motion and try to remember them, not based on having to cram the information, but based on how you're using them every day in your occupation, because OT goes beyond the textbook. OT is everywhere. We live, breathe occupational therapy. All right, so I will see you guys next time. Bye.